We had some technical difficulties to overcome this morning. So anyway, good morning, friends and Dustin. We are here to talk campaign finance today, and to do that, I have my finance manager here, Dawn Howard, who knows all things numbers. And I don't know anything about numbers or math, and that is why I went to law school. But thankfully, I'm surrounded by wonderful people like Dawn who can tell us about the ins and outs of campaign finance and taxes and accounting and all that stuff. And Dawn had this cushy corporate job where she worked with these numbers all day long and did numbery kind of things.
Very numbery.
Until she decided to cast off her corporate shackles and join the do-gooders of the world. And so we snagged her for our campaign. And what do you think that people would be surprised to know about campaign finance?
I think the thing that people would probably be most surprised about is how much calling is involved in the raising of the money. And how closely those sorts of things are monitored. So I report to the DCCC every week, as do most campaigns.
The DCCC, for those of us not in the know, which was me 6 months ago, is the Democratic Congressional Campaign Committee, right, Dustin? Yeah, that's right. Okay, so DCCC, everybody calls it the D-Trip or something like that. And they watch what we're doing and are very concerned about the amount of money that we are raising.
That's very true. They set a goal, and then every week I get a lovely email from them, and we report back how much we've raised, where our pledges are, how many hours of call time we scheduled, how many hours of call time you actually had, our future projections towards the end of the quarter, etc. And it's usually every week, but they're super interested for end of quarter. So we have a 3 p.m. today update reporting deadline. So just for one last check-in. So that's the part I think that surprised me the most is how much people sort of are looking in at it and our responsibility to get that out.
And so end of quarter is, this is the end of our first quarter officially campaigning.
Yes.
And so that is an important deadline. The end of every quarter is obviously important, but the end of the very first quarter is particularly important, and tell us why.
So the reason the first quarter, the end of your first fundraising quarter is so important is because when we look at groups and donors and things like that, I think that there are a couple of different kinds of donors and supporters. There are people that want to come out, find the exact candidate that they want and do whatever they can, no matter what, to sort of push them ahead. This is my guy, this is what we're doing. And then there are other people who are, a little more wary. They want to hang back. They want to say, is this person for real? Do I really think they can win? Do I think they can do this? And so they want to see that you can raise money before they want to give you money, which is in some ways a very frustrating circle. It's kind of like when you first get out of school and everybody wants experience to hire you, but you can't get experience because nobody will hire you. And so your first early days of campaign fundraising are very much like that, because before, when you ask people for money, they say, well, how much have you raised? And so this is our first time to report. We report, it's called the FEC, the Federal Election Commission. And so 11:59 p.m. Saturday night, the books close, and then we have 2 weeks to report, and then that is public. And that's the first time that everybody will see how we've done and what kind of job we're doing, and whether they think that that's good or bad will, for a lot of these people, be very important for them to decide whether they want to join in and support us.
Okay. And so we've set this sort of benchmark in American politics where we base everything off of the amount of money that a candidate is able to raise. I have ranted and raved about this, the absurdity of this whole thing in other contexts. I will continue to do so throughout this process. But for now, we need to raise as much as we can. We are sort of left with the system that we've built over time, and that's what we have to work within, and we're trying to get on the inside of that big machine and grab the controls and steer it in the right direction, right? To do that, though, we've got to raise money. And you know, I have had conversations with folks as I do this call time. Dawn said, you know, talk about call time. You know, we get on the phone a lot, and we're doing a lot of asking people for money. And we're doing a lot of, you know, email asks and Facebook asks and Twitter asks, and it's just, you know, that is a big part of the job here. And again, it's absurd. It's a big part of the job of a congressional candidate to ask people for money. And so, you know, as we're doing that, I've heard from people, you know, look, you know, I just, as a matter of principle, if you can't afford to give to a candidate, great, we get that. And people are giving what they can, $5, $10, $25. But people that can afford it say sometimes, as a matter of principle, I don't give to political candidates. And I think that that is, that's a problem, right? When you think about where that leaves us in American democracy, it means we turn over our government to corporate cash, we turn over our government to corporations, we turn over our government to wealthy people. That's it. And oftentimes, as we all know, the people that have lots and lots of money have little to no experience with people that have no money, and those are the folks that need the most help in our society. So I say all that to say, you know, look, this is an ugly, ugly world that we are involved in, this world of campaign finance. And we have a deadline that we are trying to hit by 3 o'clock today. We're going to be under scrutiny by 3 o'clock today. And as Dawn said, the books close officially 11:59 tomorrow night. If you can get online, canonforindiana.com/donate, and give us anything between now and then. Every last little bit is going to help. We're committed to not being for sale. We're committed to being independently financed by individuals, and so far that's the kind of campaign that we've run, and I'm proud of that. And I want to make sure that we can continue to do that. But you know, there is a snowball effect here where we got to raise a bunch of money up front, and then that's going to lead to good things later, and it'll help us be competitive with the GOP when that general election comes around. So, what else do we need to tell folks about?
I guess I just wanted to echo one thing really fast. When I came into this campaign finance reform was always something on my radar, but it wasn't really something that drove me. Like,
yeah.
Oh, sure, we need to do that. Citizens United is bad. We all know that kind of stuff, right? I am now completely convinced that it is sort of the number one threat of everything that is going on in our democracy right now. Because what you find out when you run these campaigns and you're collecting money for these campaigns, it's incredibly difficult to do it if you're not, you know, retired, so you have the time and don't need the income stream, or very wealthy, or have generational wealth, or, you know, Washington D.C. connections of people that have money and you can curry influence with. So I mean, you're an attorney, and I mean, civil rights attorneys might not be as well to do as investment attorneys or whatever, but you're an attorney, and it's hard on you and your family and everything. And so when you see the situations and you look at why all these old rich people are making decisions for us, it's because that's the only people who can afford to get elected. And that's what we're working against.
Yeah, campaign finance reform for any candidate you support, you know, that should be at the top of the stack, right, of their issues. And make sure that before you support any candidate, and I hope that you're supporting a lot of them in 2018 and not just us, although if you want to just give all your money to us, that's fine too. But look, you know, make sure that any candidate that you support has a really strong platform on campaign finance reform. It's the only way that we're actually going to be able to take control of American democracy again in a meaningful way, in the way that we really need to going forward. That's going to create a better country for our kids, for our grandkids, et cetera, et cetera. All right.
Just one more thing.
Yes.
We're going to have volunteers. They're manning the phones from here, from Bloomington, today, tomorrow, calling some of you to ask for a little more money. If you can't spare it, that's totally fine. Just be nice to them, because I'm mean enough to them already. Thank you.
All right. Thanks, folks.